Podczas festiwalu filmowego Camerimage w 2018 roku legenda kina i nasz przyjaciel Witold Sobocinski został uhonorowany prestiżową nagrodą za całokształt twórczości. 13 listopada 2018 Panavision organizowało specjalne warsztaty, w których brali udział Witold i jego wnukowie Piotr i Michał. Podczas ich trwania mogliśmy z bliska przyjrzeć się imponującej karierze rodziny Sobocińskich. Nagłe odejście Witka tuż po gali zamknięcia Camerimage pozostawiło nas pogrążonych w smutku. Witek, dzięki połączeniu swoich pasji do muzyki i fotografii, widocznej w ponad 80 filmach, pozostaje inspiracją dla mnie i dla wielu z nas na całym świecie. W miarę zbliżania się tegorocznej edycji festiwalu chcielibyśmy podzielić się wspomnieniem seminarium i wykorzystać tę okazję do uczczenia dorobku Witka i jego wpływu na całą społeczność filmową.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. I want to say dzień dobry and welcome. You see the title of the presentation here. We're very lucky. We're grateful to Panavision for providing this opportunity for us to learn from the master. And we're going to talk a little bit about technical things today, but not really very much. I think we should, it's about the Sobocinski family and the legacy that Witek has started. And you all know Witek's history. He's made more than 80 films in his life in his almost 90 years on the planet. And I wanted to start by reading a quote from Idziak, who's Sławomir Idziak, who's one of Witek's students and a great cinematographer. And he kind of puts it in a nutshell, what we're going to talk about today. It's through his films, Witek's teaching, and his students who work around the world, Witek has given the whole entire world of cinematography invaluable lessons about the nature of cinematography and the responsibilities of its practitioners. In photographing the wedding, for example, he approached the use of color in a completely new, independent way. He forgot about any realistic representation of color and tried to use color as a dramaturgical tool. The wedding was a stage play that was totally static, based on words. Somehow Witold managed to translate all these words into a very dynamic vision. He is the real father of this kind of approach, and today his influence can be felt in the work of many important filmmakers around the world. Looking at Witold's films, we see that he believed that each picture required a new way of seeing and thinking, that each story needed to be served in a unique way. He taught us that the cinematographer brings much more than technical knowledge. He taught us that it is the cinematographer's responsibility to fight for a vision, to persuade a director rather than to merely do his or her bidding. He was among the first to advance the idea that the cinematographer is the most important collaborator after the director. His example is one of very close collaboration between the storyteller and the person in charge of the visual aspect of the movie. He showed us that this meeting could be the backbone for a new model of cinema. I think that kind of gives us a little bit of background. We're going to talk about Witek's career and life, but first of all, let's welcome him and thank him for what he's given us. To his right is Simon. He's going to translate a little bit and help make sure the communication goes smoothly. And to his right, Witold Sobocinski Jr., great cinematographer in his own right, Witek's grandson. And it's possible that we might be getting a communication from India, where Michał Sobocinski, another inheritor of the great legacy, is working on a film right now. So if we can get Michał, just let me know, and we'll put him up on the screen. Give me the high sign if that is the case. There's Michał. Can we hear him?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm just about to begin shooting. I'm on a train station in Mumbai.
What are you shooting, Michał?
I'm doing a film with Chaitanya Tamane. It's the director of Court. He won 2 Lions in Venice for his last film and was the Indian candidate to an Oscar for the best foreign language film. So we're doing his second film about Indian classical music, and we're just about to finish schedule one. We are 40 shooting days into the shoot.
That's all right. That was fun. We got a little bit from Michal. That's nice. We've got plenty to do, so I wanted to talk a little bit about music. As Michael said, he's shooting a film about Indian classical music, and Witek's whole approach to cinematography has always been about music. Many of you know, I'm sure, that when he was a young man, he was an important jazz musician in Poland, and at his house in Warsaw, he showed me a letter from Dave Brubeck thanking him for helping to spread the gospel of jazz in Europe, and so before he ever even shot a frame of film, he was already an important artist in the Polish scene. As you may have heard John Bailey say in the opening ceremony for this year's Camerimage Festival, cinema is the art of the 20th and the 21st century. And here we have one of the great practitioners of that art. We're very lucky to have Witek here today. But he has said that every image that he's ever made, he approaches it as he would approach a musical piece. He's thinking about rhythm and color and impressions. And there's a quote that I love to use. It's been attributed to many different people. I heard it from Fred Zinnemann book. And he said that cinema aspires to the condition of music, because music reaches the emotions directly because it's nonverbal. And cinema, when it's working, that's also true of cinema when it's working. And I think that Witek, tell us about when you were a young man and you were playing drums in the band, and you started to think, well, maybe I should shoot photographs and cinematography, and you were applying to the film school. When you made that leap, how did you decide this?
W mojej głowie jest prawdopodobnie takie urządzenie, które najprościej teraz jest, łatwiej jest zagrać, czyli przetłumaczyć. W jazzie to się improwizuje, to się nie pamięta, to się coś z takiej idei, która tkwi w człowieku, rytmiczna, melodyczna, jakaś, można było tak powiedzieć, że tęskniłem prawdopodobnie, jeszcze nie widziałem, że we mnie tkwi ta charakterystyczna rzecz. Przez muzykę do ludzi przemawiać. Nie chciałbym, ja byłem takim dorastającym już chłopcem w czasie wojny i koniecznie chciałem mieć kontakt z drugą stroną. To się odbywało w Łodzi, bo tam mieszkaliśmy. I wieczorem ja miałem schowane radio jeszcze w czasie wojny. Radio Luksemburg było dla mnie taką wskazówką. Wyciągałem malutkie radio, które miałem w tapczanie. Otwierałem tapczan i zamykałem tapczan razem ze mną i z radiem. I słuchałem coś, co później się okazało muzyką jazzową. To jest audycja, która była przekazywana z Washington DC, amerykańskie. How call you this musician? Mr. X is speaking to Europe by jazz.
I don't know this person. Yeah.
The gentleman is from America.
Mr. X.
No, i to było coś, co ogarnęło moje pierwsze wrażenia takie, które okazuje się, że miałem ucho. Znaczy nie nadepnął mi słoń na ucho, tylko odwrotnie. Moje ucho było bardzo wrażliwe i nawet nie wiedziałem, że po wyzwoleniu ja zacznę grać jazz, więc to jest olbrzymia różnica. Słuchać, a grać to jest taka przekładnia moich uczuć do świata, do ludzi. Potem się to przerodziło w obraz. I ten obraz spowodował to, że ja miałem wykształcony muzycznie. Tęsknota za muzyką była tak silna, że zacząłem grać z chłopakami razem jazz. Także taki kawałek życia mogę to się pochwalić właśnie, że wykształcił mnie tęsknota do muzyki, do taktów, do harmonii, do czegoś, czego nie dawała mi takiemu 14-letniemu chłopcu na wojnie.
It's my understanding that you kind of invented a new format. It was sort of Super 35 before there was Super 35 on that film. Do I have that right? Tell us about that. What drove you to find this new way of shooting from perforation to perforation?
Bo ja jeszcze byłem w czasie wojny. Ale to muszę się ja już dlaczego ja wybrałem sobie kino jako cel mojego życia? Bo wszystkie elementy kina powstawały w mojej głowie z tęsknoty, z znaczenia tego, co jest później. Kino, które mogło wszystkie te moje tęsknoty wyładować. I dlatego jest w tych moich... To się tak nagle zmieniło, bo ja chciałem powiedzieć, że w międzyczasie grałem po nocach jazz w Polsce po raz pierwszy. Zrobiliśmy sobie zespół i graliśmy po wojnie. To był kawał pięknej roboty takiej, no, trochę niewojennej. Przecież nie będę mówił o wszystkich moich rzeczach, które się pozmieniały w tej głowie. Była taka wielka rzecz, która przerosła mój cel w życiu, który miał być, nie wiem, muzykiem albo jakimś innym. Jeszcze był, jak człowiek młody był, to jeszcze chciał grać w reprezentacji młodzików w siatkówkę na przykład. Miał takie dziwne okresy. W końcu skończyło się na tym, że byłem studentem pierwszej po wojnie dobrej szkoły filmowej w Łodzi i tam się rozwinąłem i zapomniałem o wszystkich tarapatach, które były w czasie wojny u młodego chłopca. Jeszcze grałem w koszykówkę, no ale co, bo to nudne, co mówię, ale w końcu zrobiłem parę filmów ładnych, za które dostałem nagrody jakieś.
Maybe I could start to answer a question about the format, because actually Witek and I were talking about this last night, and what Witek wanted to achieve in Hourglass Sanatory was to have this very dynamic perspective, so that you have a portrait on the foreground and very small silhouettes on the background, and also a large depth of field that he could not achieve with a classic anamorphic lens. So basically what they did is Witek and his assistant, they altered the camera to go from perforation to perforation and use spherical lenses without the soundtrack. Exactly. So because they wanted this large depth of field, they decided to use spherical lenses and to have this used very wide lenses for this movie, and they developed an optical way to do the print. So it was screened in the movies in an anamorphic way. So this was something that Witek did for that movie.
And it's my understanding that the part of the impetus for that was the sketches in the book by the author had this strange perspective, often from above, where the heads were very large and the feet were very small. And Witek wanted to try to translate that to the screen.
Yes, Bruno Schulz. Which year was that? I don't really...
72, 73?
1973, yeah?
Pytacie się, który to rok? Przecież ja mam sklerozę. Ale ja robiłem film po filmie, bo się okazało, widzicie, teraz ja wam powiem dlaczego, proszę państwa. Powiem wam, że się zrobiłem raczej twórcą filmów, właściwie obrazu do filmów. I w każdym moim filmie jest inny rodzaj próby pokazywania, nie mówienia takim przeciętnym językiem filmowym do państwa, bo to jest, do każdego kina można pójść na jakiś film, nawet jak się nie rozumie, ale jak się rusza i tam słychać jakąś muzyczkę, to mnie to nie interesowało. Ja tam troszeczkę chciałem przemówić swoim. I ten sposób powstał mój sposób przekazywania i szukania lepszych rozwiązań, takich troszeczkę moim zdaniem to muzyka też wpłynęła na to. W poszukiwaniach nowej formy się rozwijałem, żeby każdy film był troszeczkę innym językiem pokazywany.
So just what I would like to do before we see the other clip is I want to tell you about a little bit about the reality in Poland in the 70s. So first of all, that was very hard to get Kodak negative, but this movie was actually shot on Kodak, yeah, Witek?
Co?
Na Kodaku to kręciłeś.
Tak.
Yeah, so this was shot, but what happened then is that the ratio was probably 1:2, maybe 1:3. So basically, which means that you could have 2 or 3 takes of the same setup. So that was, you really needed to think about what you want to get into the movie because there was very, very little negative. Second of all, Witek wanted this colorful movie, which we didn't have gels back then in Poland. So what he did, as I know, is they went to a candy factory and they scotch taped together gels from the candy wrap just to have this colorful light. So basically nothing was easy back then, and it was really what Witek said, you had to be very creative to find this new form. It wasn't enough that you can imagine something like today and then there are ways to do it. You just had to invent a way to do it. So this is what really impresses me and always have.
Fantastic.
Please.
So Witek, did you encounter resistance? Did you have to fight? Were people saying this is not good cinematography, and you had to defend this, or were people immediately accepting of these out of the ordinary ideas?
Ale proszę nie myśleć, że ja tylko robiłem ten jeden film. Tym filmem ja wkroczyłem zupełnie w inny świat, ponieważ mam takie, nie wiem właśnie z czego, chyba to jest jakiś taki suma przeżyć od młodego chłopca w czasie wojny. Ojca wykupiliśmy z niewoli za 6 kilo chałupy. To może pan powiedzieć od razu. Zaczęliśmy od tego, że takimi sposobami się dostałem i tym filmem, który żeście państwo widzieli, ja troszeczkę się zaczął interesować świat, bo to jest taki światowy kino, dostał nagrodę gdzie tam dostał. To są takie między mojego życia części, które się w końcu złożyły na takie rozliczenie się z jakimiś sensami przemawiania do ludzi w ten sposób, jak w tym filmie Sanatorium pod Klepsydrą, doszło do takiego przekonania u mnie, że ja będę robił każdy film inaczej.
No, I just wanted to encourage Witek to talk about his relation with the director.
Okay.
Before he saw the dailies, but...
No to jak to z reżyserami jest, no po prostu to nie jest jego, to nie był jego styl myślenia. I to jest zawsze jakaś taka piękna rzecz występuje przy współpracy reżyser-operator, że ten operator oświetlił tylko i poszedł do domu spać. Ale to przecież nie na tym polega. Przecież to trzeba wejść w jakiś świat, który każdy świat może być z drugiej strony widziany i jakoś inaczej oświetlony, jakoś inaczej. Tego przez głowę u reżyserów rzadko się przechodzi takie myśli. Takie myśli przechodzą rzadko. Ale ja potem, jak on zmontował kawałek filmu i powiedział, Witek, tak jedziemy. No to pojechaliśmy.
Well, Piotr, I wanted to ask you, I hope it's not too personal of a question, but, you know, as the grandson of this great cinematographer and the son of another, do you feel a lot of pressure? I mean, it's got to be a major part of dealing with, you know, growing up. You've said that Witek is and has always been the most severe critic. And, you know, when you see those images, you know, how does that affect you when you think of yourself as a cinematographer?
I try not to compare, just to survive. But just that you understand our relationship, I can tell you a quick story about when I shot my first school film, which was at Camerimage, by the way. And so I tried to keep it as simple as I can, you know, it was black and white, shot on film. We got one can of stock from film school, so it's 4 minutes and something of stock, and the film has to be around 3 minutes. So it was the same case as back in the communist times in Poland. So basically, we rehearsed it a lot and shot very few takes. But actually, I was kind of happy with what was the outcome, and you know, I think it looked good. I was even surprised. So I edited the film, and the first person who I wanted to show it to was Witold, of course. So I screened the film for him, and then there was a long silence, and then Witek commented this in these words I will always remember. You know, not everyone deserves to get a camera in his hands. So that was the... Yeah, but what is great about this is that we have a very direct relationship, and you know, Witek is always the first one to see my film, and what he tells me is, even though I don't want to admit this, but 90% of the time this is very true, and this is what I learn from the most, is from criticism, and not from, you know, clapping you on the back and say, oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. This is what you want to hear, actually. So it's not always easy, but this is what you want to hear. And when it goes to you know, thinking about my dad and my granddad as cinematographers, it's early in film school I said, okay, I need to let the thought to be equal with them, let it go. I just do what I want to do and what I love the best way that I can. And the most important thing that I learned from both of the gentlemen is that to treat every film as your first one. So before every movie that I'm supposed to do, I am equally nervous. I am, you know, scared that, and then I cannot fall asleep before I play the movie in my head, even before we start shooting, again and again until I like it. And then what I try to find a new way to show the movie and to have a unique way of telling the story for each different movie. And I think this is what is the best about this job, because you get to be in a different world every time, and every time what you do is new.
The beginning, you know, when you were talking to the director about how it should look in terms of color and contrast, it's based on true events, but there's always the question of reality versus the filmic reality. when you were first devising a look for it. Tell us about your thinking.
Okay, first of all, I need to tell you what happened here during the shoot. When we were watching the corridor shot, Vitek said, "Oh, if only there was a track and it would have been nice." So, basically,
yeah. When the first scene appeared, and the professor said, "Oh, that's not one of mine," and Peter said, "Yes, because it's one of mine."
and anyway, you see, I really hate watching this because I'm a different person today, and what you do as a filmmaker is what you need to do is you need to really get to know how to cope with failure, because as I said what I said before, that you have this film in your head, it's never what it ends up on the screen because of many reasons. And so yeah, I'm like that. I really don't like watching my movies, and I saw this maybe the first time from the 5 years, and there's a lot of things that I would have changed. But yeah, so basically what happened with this film is a first-time collaboration with Łukasz Palkowski. And actually our second movie was here on the festival this year, the Breaking the Limits. And I got into this movie was a pretty hardcore way, because I read the script and then I went to meet the director and the producer. And they got me in a car, and we went to a hospital, and I witnessed a heart transplant, because what you couldn't have seen from the clip, but it's a story about a real person, and actually a friend of Vitek from the 80s. It's a guy who did the first heart transplant in Poland. So I was scared out of my mind when I went to this hospital, but actually what happened is we found out that it's pretty amazing how the whole process goes on, and it was a huge inspiration to us. And we watched the doctors precisely and how they go. There are moments when they're focused and moments when they make jokes, and how all of this. What is the process? So that was actually the main inspiration, and all the nurses and the doctors, they had anecdotes for us about the character, and so this is what happened. What the challenge was is that a lot of this film takes place in a hospital, and all the tiles, the uniforms, and everything. There's a variation of green and blue, and so this was something to really think about, and how to separate the background from the foreground. And so we decided to use light just to emphasize what we want, and then have a lot of shadow, even though it's not true, just to have emphasize the emotions and world. And so we degraded the color palette in hospital. It's only the world outside that had colors. And also there we use the time of the year to emphasize the emotions of the main character. So when there was a better time, there was spring or summer, and we had more color. As when he went into depression, we changed the time here to autumn and winter, just to have degraded color palette in a natural way. So we didn't want to use the DI to as little as we can. We just wanted to have the original colors, just to control them. Yeah, so this is what I remember now, because as I told you, it's maybe 5-6 movies ago, and I tried to, as I said before, I tried to erase everything that I did and find a new way every new movie.
I think it's a trait of successful cinematographers is this drive to always improve. Even in the 10th take and the 20th take, they're always, well, there's one way that I can improve this. And I think that that is of a piece with Vitek's critical reactions to things. You know, aside from the technique of cinematography, I'm curious about the way that you relate to the crew and what you may have learned from Vitek or your father about how to do that. There's a story I heard just yesterday from Witold, PSC, who Vitek, he was at the National Film School. Vitek came to the school and he was looking for an operator for a television program he was going to shoot. He looked at Vit's film and his work and chose him. And Vit got to the set. Vitek was the director of photography, and there was a camera he was meant to operate, and it was a fluid head that had some gears in it, as he explained it to me, and it was not the best head that he didn't really have any experience with, and he confessed that to Vitek, and Vitek said to him, think of yourself as a solo sailor going out on the ocean. You depend on yourself, you're responsible for it, you do what's right. And Vit said that gave him great confidence, and is something that he always remembered, and he's always tried to have that attitude towards his crew members. You know, is there anything along those lines, Piotrek, that you have learned from Vitek, either from him telling you or by his example, or from your father?
Yeah, you know, they're two completely different people, my dad and Vitek. And as I think of them, is that Vitek is very intuitive and improvising, and can find himself not only, as you said, a musician, sportsman, he can paint amazingly. So anything Vitek does just turns into gold. It's not such an easy case with me. I really need to work hard just to get anything. But my dad was the same way, but he would look at movies in a more intellectual way, I think. And of course he used his heart also, but that movies are not, the core is the same, but it's a different style, sort of. And so I try to take the best from each style, and I really love to improvise on the set, and I think these turn out usually to be the best parts of the movie, when you're surprised by something and you really need to react quickly. You know, and if you are well prepared intellectually, then you know which and every scene, what the meaning is for the whole puzzle, which is the film. And so basically, I really enjoy having that surprises and being able to use them in a good way. And but basically, when my dad passed away, I was 17 years old, and so it was a little early for me to really learn from being on the set from either of these guys. But what I really learned from them is, you know, the atmosphere of the set and how they work with their crews. And maybe to answer your question, the most important part is to have a party with your crew in the beginning of the movie, you know, get to know each other, and that if you're friends with your crew, then you can succeed in the movie, and that's in the film. So that's the only way to you know, to be surrounded by friends, and so that's really what's the most important. And then if you have that, then so you have your people behind you, then you can do anything.
That's a great answer. And not to belabor the point, but reminds me of a jazz band where you know the piece of music, you know the chord changes, you know how to play your instrument, you forget, then you can forget all that and be in the moment and improvise, and you know your friends are around you and they will support you through your risks that you take, and hopefully the result is a wonderful surprise for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's very important to stick to what's exactly you thought of, because you know, you're the cinematographer. You're a part of the mechanism, maybe a golden part, but still a part. So you have the director, you have the producer, you have the actors, production design, you have the weather, and then suddenly you're thrown to the set. Yeah, money is also often a problem. And so basically, you have your vision, and then you have all those things trying to ruin your vision, and then if you react quickly and you just have to let go when you're really well prepared and you have everything done, and you're on the safe side. You get there and you improvise. And yeah, often, as I said, these are the best scenes in the movie. You know, so yeah, you have to be prepared for everything.
In the meantime, Piotrek, I wanted to ask you about your relationship with your brother. It seems to me you guys are often in contact. Do you ask each other for advice? Do you show each other things and talk about them, or run things by each other? Or
I think of all DOPs as of brothers. Actually, you know, what is great and what is also great in this festival is that you get to meet people, and you know, whenever I travel somewhere to shoot, and I can ask about advice and the crews and everything. So this is great to have such support. Lately, oh, Michael is here, so let's maybe.
Hello.
Michal,
So what did you see?
we saw 2 clips from The Art of Loving. One where she's in
Okay.
she's with the professor in the lecture hall. Shot.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other, what was the other one? I can't remember. But you shot the movie.
Giving the baptism and giving.
Oh, the baptism
birth.
in the church. Yeah.
Ah, okay. The baptizing, yeah?
Yes.
The baptizing scene? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I understand you shot the movie with 2 lenses.
Yes.
Why?
It was the Hawk V-Lights anamorphic lenses. So we decided to shoot the whole film on the 28mm and a 35. So basically the whole film was shot, although it's a biopic, so we decided on that movement that's going to be, there's only one static shot of the whole film. So it's not like a conventional storytelling, doing the reverse angles and all the over-shoulder shots and stuff like that. So we just decided the film has to have that musical kind of vibe. So the camera is actually it's within the story. We just trying to show the audience like a narrative point of view that just like shows you what we wanted you to see. It's not like you get to the editing room having all the shots you get, like and you can pick from them, because they're like 7-minute long shots, they're like 3.5-minute master shots. So it was kind of risky doing that, but I think that's why you have the freedom in that film and like this consequent movement throughout the whole piece.
And the long takes, I've heard you talk about. You have admired that in Vitek's work, the very long take and the tension that it builds. Is that something you were thinking of in The Art of Loving?
Yes. Actually, it's like Vitek to me was always like the master of like storytelling, because he used those wide lenses back in the day when it was really hard to get them. They were very distorted, and he found a way of like he would like edit within the one take, within widened frame, because using a wide lens and all of that movement, you can really in one take you can come really close, start from like from a close up and go into a wide shot, turn around within 180 degrees. It's really hard for the lighting. It's really hard for everyone, for the art department especially. But that's Vitek's work and the jazz in his films that inspired me to shoot this film this way, actually.
Maybe this is a silly question, but when you're shooting, do you hear Vitek's voice in your ear saying, "Don't do this" or "Do that," or do you forget that and do it yourself? You know.
Yes, if I hear Vitek's voice, it's always "Don't do this." But cut your hair, cut the long hair. So, yes. Yeah, you know, I think all of us, if I would like hear Vitek's voice or that voice in my head when I'm shooting, I would go crazy. So I think I admire his work so much. I never try to overcome and be a master that obviously he is, and our dad was. Peter is a great DP. I think all of us are looking for a kind of language. Every film we shoot is different. So That's why the prep is so important, that every time you pick your crayons for the drawing, so you pick the lenses, pick the camera, and pick the... So I'm glad and super happy I'm coming from this family of cinematographers, but most common thing for us is talking about, with me and Vitek, about drums and guitars.
I can actually, David, I could continue about the last clip. And you were saying how we tried to approach the visually in the film Gods, the times, the communist times. It was one of the ways was also that I forgot to talk about. You could clearly see that in the corridor scene, the bouquet. We use lenses from that period that are very interesting because they have a triangular aperture. So you can really see that in the light sources that are out of focus, that they have this funny shape. But so we couldn't, in that particular movie, we couldn't afford anamorphic. So we were trying to find something that was that would be equally interesting, and we went with that type of lenses. So that was also one of the ways, so that the picture is not perfect and not so sharp, and it has its flaws. And I think it works really well emotionally, because if you open up the aperture, it would be regular circle aperture. So we would, if we want to have a shallow depth of field, that was okay. And then, so we use that aperture as our way of the graduation of emotion.
Any questions from the audience?
I spoke to Witold a long time ago in Torun about natural light in Poland. And what you can see from all four of them is this tenebrous, this sense of Poland as a kind of cultural way of seeing. And I wondered what he thought about that now.
Myślę, że bardziej myśleli ludzie przedtem i organizowali światło. To się w kinie organizuje, albo się czeka, albo idzie się spać. Taki jest schemat myślenia i czynu. Wszystko jedno, jak się myśli, ale musi się myśleć w jakichś ramach, które się nazywa sztuką. Koniec.
Yeah, so maybe if I can add something, is that you never know what the light will be in Poland. So the weather changes constantly. And these days, it's very rarely that you can afford to wait for the light. So you need to find ways around it. The schedules they have become so tight, as I guess everywhere in the world. And so you need to find your ways. So that's a constant fight with the light.
Michał, how are you finding the light in India? Are you shooting outside at all? And how does it different from Polish natural light?
The light in India, oh my God, it's tough. It's tough because for the first 2 hours, there's so much pollution and smog, you cannot see the sun even if it's a cloudless day. And then when the sun kicks in, it's constantly so high and so strong that I had to completely change my way of thinking about the lighting. Completely a different world. You had to rethink all of your all the tricks don't work in here. You have to use completely different schemes of lighting, and it's nice because it's like you're doing your first film again, like it's your debut. So it's kind of exciting. And guys, I would like to say goodbye because they're calling me. My first AD is going to kill me. So it was a pleasure being in Bydgoszcz. I'm coming in 2 days. If I survive this train. So I just want to say one more thing to Witek. Witek, gratuluję Ci jeszcze nagrody. Nie wiem, czy to się udało w tym poprzednim połączeniu, bo mi się wszystko zrywało. Bardzo za Wami tęsknię, za Polską, za rodziną. Widzimy się na Camerimage za 2 dni. Kocham Cię, Witek, wspaniale. Strasznie się cieszę i przeżywam Twoją nagrodę.
Hi, a question to Vitek. Is there anything in the new style of cinema these days, the contemporary cinema that you like, that is new and...
Yeah, I like
Podoba się, bo są tańsze, połowę tańsze. Ładowało się, w moje filmy się ładowały straszne pieniądze. Ale ja nie narzekałem. A jak były małe pieniądze, to były małe kina, ale ładne, przemawiające do ludzi, autentyczne w jakiś sposób. Ja jestem człowiekiem, który chce autentycznie przemawiać do ludzi. Czyli innym językiem niż takim ordynarnym, prostym. Tylko jakimś takim, który zawiera w sobie taką złotą wartość.
I don't like that the movies are cheaper these days, actually. But anyway, no, it's never helping. But anyway, what I want to say is that what I think of Vitek cinematography is that it actually always was very modern. Obviously, there were some limits, no CGI, and etc. But the way the movies were shown, most of the movies they didn't age in a way, in the cinematic way, and I think that you could easily watch them today and say that this is the modern way, because what Vitek said, the authenticity, I think this is crucial.
Hi, question for both members of the family. What advice would you give to young cinematographers on finding their style, and what general advice would you give them today?
To, co teraz powiem, ale to musi pan przetłumaczyć, bo to jest to, że w powojennych czasach, jak się odrodziło prawdziwe życie i sięgało się dalej niż uciekało się do lasu przed bombami i przed histerią wojny. Ten zeszły rok jest takim odkryciem ludzkich dążeń, kochań. Widzi pan, ja mówię o takim czymś i się wzruszam. To znaczy, że sięgam głębiej. To nie jest z głowy, tylko z serca. Że po wojnie była straszna miłość do jakiejkolwiek sztuki, do jakichkolwiek odwrotu od bomb, od troski, i nie będę mówić, co się w czasie wojny działo. I ten wiek między 40 rokiem a końcem 80 lat należy do najpiękniejszych naszych europejskich osiągnięć. I bardzo taki prosto z serca tematów i wielkiego kroku do przodu w kinematografii.
I'm gonna quote my first AC, Tomek Habrewicz. When I was shooting my debut, a feature film, it was shot on film. We used a very old camera. The video assist was terrible. You could barely see anything. And I was lighting very safe, sort of, because we were in the countryside. We got dailies only every 2 weeks, so I was terrified, and I was trying to be on the safe side. And then my first AC, he came to me and he said, "No, you cannot do it like this. Don't be afraid, and just you need to be brave." And I think I listened to him, and then when you watch the movie, it's called Rose. It was here in this festival, I think 7 years ago, and you see that the beginning of the movie is actually very, very, very safe, and then as you continue watching the movie, the image becomes has more contrast, and it is more harsh, and actually it worked really well for the movie, because we were shooting chronologically, but so it looks like maybe it was intended, but actually this was me developing the style during the film and becoming brave. So I think it's much easier to be brave these days with the digital technology, because you're on the safe side with a DAT and all that backup. But the bottom line is, you know, just forget technology and follow your heart, and you know, be brave.
Talk about cultivating the next generation, like your daughter was in your most recent film. And I'm just wondering, what's the life like at home with music, with food, with arts? How are you continuing the cultivation of the empire of your family's legacy going into the fourth?
One thing a fun fact is my sister, my mother, and her parents are actors. So basically, half of us are cinematographers and half are actors. So yeah, this is about choosing a career. It was sort of a natural way for me to follow, to get into the film, because I fell in love with the atmosphere of the film set and what's going on. But what I learned about family is what my mother did when my brother was born, my younger brother that you've met on the screen. She resigned from her career as an actress, even though her career was at a much higher point at the time. And she decided to follow our dad wherever he went. So, and then my sister was born. So we would travel with our dad, and we made the home where he was shooting. And it was not always easy, because we still keep learning in Polish school, so we came back for the tests. We traveled a lot, and we had to make new friends everywhere that we moved. But thanks to that, we actually did have a family. And as you know, the big movies, they take 7 months, a year of your life. So this would be the time period that we would have been separated from our dad. And thanks to my mom, we do have the family. And this is what I try to do. Actually, my girlfriend and both of my daughters are here at Camerimage. I just came from India. I'm going to shoot in Holland and in Bangkok day after tomorrow. So this is the time that actually, you know, we go to the cinema, we're meeting people, but this is also the time that I can spend with my family. So actually, this is what is most important: family, and then the movies, and then the food. If you mention it, it's a very important part of my life, and this is what relaxes me. I'm cooking a lot, so when I'm free, I just cook and invite as many people as I can over to my place, and we're having a fun evening. So.
Witold says something very similar in the commemorative book that they make for him as the Lifetime Achievement winner. He says that he brought his wife and his family on location, and that really helped him achieve balance and maintain a healthy outlook, and it's almost the same thing Piotr just said. Are there more questions?
I was just thinking, this is for Piotr. As a 17-year-old, you have a certain way of looking at the world. But as a 35-year-old, your perspective changes. And I just wanted to know, the person you are now, and not having your father in your life for 18 years, what questions would you like to have asked your father about filmmaking that you didn't get the opportunity to ask him?
Well, I just turned 35 last week, so I'm only beginning to learn how it is to be a 35-year-old.
Congratulations.
Anyway, yeah, 18 years it has. It's been 18 years since my dad is gone, and well, you can't even begin. I mean, we don't have enough time. I would have had so many questions, but. I guess I'm on my own, and I need to learn it. And you know, I often think what would he have said, but yeah, I mean, I would love for him to tell me when he sees my movies. I would love for him to give me feedback. But well, what I get and what I think is very. Usually I would hate the situation that I'm in right now, to be in front of an audience, but growing up, I understand this is you who we make movies for the audience, and especially such a wonderful audience that is made of filmmakers. And it's what's most important is to get feedback from you after making the movie, because answering actually the previous questions is that when you make a movie, you filter it through your emotions and your feelings, and then you want to, when you see the actual movie, and you want to know if it worked out and if it works out for you. So this is the magic of cinema for me.
Just a question for both of you, maybe. Speaking a little bit about reinventing yourself and doing something new, something better for each film. So what do you do when you're trying to pursue this, and sometimes you just get stuck and you just find yourself going back into your comfort zone? Just what do you do to push yourself out of it?
You said something new and something better. It's important maybe not to think this way, because this gets you stuck. What you want to do is you want to do best there is for the story. It not always has to be better, not always has to be new, like you don't need to fight. It just has to suit the story, and the picture has to tell the story in the best possible way for me. So this is the actual approach, because it's easy to do beautiful pictures. It's easy, to do this crazy camera movements, and there is a technology that you could do anything these days. But sometimes doing something best for the movie is about taking a step back. It's about being modest. It's about the light not being perfect. It's the opposite of what you would think as of a classical cinematic approach. So that's what is crucial for me. And of course you have good and bad days. And I will come back to what I said in the beginning of this meeting, is that you need the best crew behind your back, because when you have a worst day, you can count on them. And I always work with my first AC, and and I love to work with him because I'm doing a scene, I'm lighting, I'm laying down the tracks for the dolly, and he comes to me and he says, "Piotrek, this is shit. What are you doing?" And then, he really does that, but when he does, it rings a bell, because he's a focus puller, but he's like a great filmmaker. The focus is just one of the things that he does for me. And so you just need to build a team that you can trust. And then when you have a worst day, because obviously they come every now and then you trust them, and they will help you.
And would this also apply to the thought process of trying to create like a new language in?
Yeah. That's you create a language for each film, a unique language, and after this is your language, but after a few days into shooting or a few weeks, your crew, they get this. They're smart people and they're creative. What I do is actually I try to be least technological as I can when I talk to my gaffer, operator, and actually lately I'm operating myself. I find this very nice. I would love to work with an operator, but my best operators, they've become DPs now, which is great. And I started to operate myself, and I really enjoy it, because you're really connected to actors. You're the first one to react, and this is a great thing as well.
So connected to this, maybe a question that's often in debate, film school versus no film school. Do you have any opinion and advice, again, to young filmmakers? Is a film school necessary? Would you recommend people to just go and try and get any job on set and then try and get to the place that they like?
I think I used to argue with the professors all the time, but I think
still teaching.
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
But it's very important to go to film school because of actually arguing with professors. And actually, back at my time, we shot on film. And this was the most important part, I think, of the school, because you have this little story and you need to tell
Old school.
You need to tell it on the screen. And you really, unlike on digital, on film, you really think twice before you roll the camera, because then you're out of stock and you're done. So this teaches you, shooting on film teaches you how to be precise, how to to do only what you want and what you need for the movie to be told. And this is something that is much harder when you shoot on digital, because you can just point the camera anyway. You roll 5 hours for a 5-minute film. So this is a very, very different approach. And school is something that gives you, actually, what's great, it gives you time, to be with your thoughts and to develop the way that you think. So I think it is important. However, it's even more important to visit a set, because this is where you will learn the most. I skipped school to go on many different sets, and yeah. So they wanted to throw me out when I was at his year, because I was operating already, and so I think you need to do both. School is very important, also because you want to learn what you don't want to do. And there are some professors, obviously, that you will not like and you will disagree with, but it's important to find out what you don't like. This is equally important than as finding what you like, for me.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming out, and let's thank Panavision, the great tech crew, and our great panelists here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming, and I would like to thank Panavision and especially Hugh, who takes care of us cinematographers, and they make all our crazy ideas become reality and come to the screen. So we actually have not talked about lenses and cameras and everything, but it's very crucial to your job that you need to become friends with the camera. It's not easy, I have to tell you, but these guys, they make it easier for you.